I'm Jamin, and this is my lovely wife, Pastor Deborah. Shrader, yeah, that was my name first, but it's hers now too. We are from here in Kearney. Where do we go to church, babe?
The Outpost, where I'm the lead pastor.
So I was invited by my current brother-in-law, meaning he wasn't at the time. He asked me, in the immortal words of Sir Matthias Cornwalby, "Hey bro, you ever church it up?" This is coming from the owner of a piercing shop, which I hung out at, believe it or not. He invited me to church, and I thought the pastor was hot. So I decided to stay in church.
My perspective was I had heard about him because he had actually been helping my sister and her family with moving and various things, and I was always out of town doing some trainings and things because of just having taken over the church. And so I heard about this nice young man, but I hadn't met him. And so then he walked through the door at church one day, and I was like, oh, that must be that nice young man. That's cool. He came. And he actually reminded me a lot of my guy friend from YWAM that I was kind of missing at the time. And we happened to be doing some remodeling at church, and I needed volunteers, and he kept volunteering. So we kind of ended up getting to know each other that way. And also I discovered there is no handbook for, as a female pastor, to date someone in your congregation. So that was quite an interesting journey, and I realized there is quite an interesting, what's the word I'm looking for, disparity. When there is a single male pastor, everyone is always very excited, trying to find him the perfect wife. And it was not that way for me / for us. So that's part of our story, is surviving, dating, and getting engaged and married.
Would you say that there were very well-meaning people who thought that I might not have been good enough for their Deborah?
Yes, I did tell him, okay, you realize not only are you marrying me and my family, but an entire congregation. So can you handle that?
And
you didn't
so
run
far.
away. So.
Well, I'm a musician, and that's always been the plan, to keep pumping out songs and getting in front of people and telling my story. And, you know, like many musicians, I thought I'd been a lot bigger by now. I thought that this was the plan. I was going to go all the way to the top, and sometimes life takes longer than you expect. But I think I'm still headed the right direction. I would not have guessed that I'd be in a band with my wife. I would not have guessed that I was going to be married to a pastor at the age of 28. But if you keep your mind open, there's lots of things that can happen that are better than your plans.
Ever since I was a little kid, I thought I was going to be a missionary, living in a mud hut somewhere in some unreached area of the world. And so I've been on various mission trips to various countries, and I always thought maybe this is the time I'll get to stay. And lo and behold, I always ended up coming back to Nebraska. And last time I went, I did a YWAM school in YWAM Denver, and I thought for sure this is going to be the time I'm launching into something international, or even staying on staff at the base there, and I didn't have peace about it, so I ended up back in Nebraska again, and kind of spending a couple of years in limbo and just a little frustrated, like, Lord, what are you doing? Why am I here? And during that time, my dad, who had battled cancer off and on for 18 years, I don't know, long time, he started to get sick again. And during that time, even before he got ill again, he was just showing me more about the church, more of the behind the scenes stuff that I hadn't ever really needed to know. And so he ended up passing away in 2015, a year before I met Jamin. And I ended up stepping in as kind of an interim pastor while they found the real one. And then they asked me to stay. So not something I ever had planned to do, but I saw how God had orchestrated things. And then because I ended up staying in Nebraska, I met Jamin, and here we are. And yes, I didn't think I would be a drummer in a rock band, but I also played on the worship team since I was 13 and done various things. But one of the things we did while we were dating was open mic nights, actually. And that was really my first experience doing music outside the church, which I was a little unsure of. So he was kind of my courage to do that. And now here we are playing in all kinds of places.
Would you say that you had the idea that you were going to go away and see the world, and that you still kind of have done that, just not the way that you expected?
Right. I thought I was gonna, marry someone that also was a missionary, or I don't know, we would live over there and they'd be the one doing the preaching and stuff, and I'd be doing the helping.
I mean, we kind of are doing that. We haven't taken it outside the country yet, but we are doing something pretty similar to what you were thinking. It just doesn't look the same.
Right.
Yes, but not.
Yes, but not.
Well, I've struggled with mental illness for a long time. Depression, bipolar disorder. I got put on medicine, and I was invited to go to a conference, and it was at Charis Bible College. It was Men's Encounter, Men's Advance. There's a lot of good conferences out there. And I went to one because I was invited. I went with some friends, and I got prayed for in the hallway. And I had a friend there with me who had his arm in a sling. He was in a car accident. And he got prayed for. He took his sling off and lifted his arm above his head for the first time in months. And I said, "That's cool. Okay, me next." And this complete stranger, I don't remember his name, never met him again, prayed for me. And I had a vision of me standing on the side of the road with God, and I had crutches. And God said, and I quote, "Chuck that shit in the ditch. You don't need it anymore." Those were God's words, not mine. So after the conference, I came home and I stopped taking my medicine. It was really, really strong stuff, and it was a really rough week. 6 years off it, and I'm not nearly as moody or angry as I used to be. That had to have been God's plan. I couldn't make that story up. The difference of my life before and after, I'm not the guy that I was when you married me.
No. And he did this about, was it 2 or 3 months into us getting married? And my mom was a registered nurse for 40 years. So when she heard the medication he was taking and that he stopped taking cold turkey, she's like, "That could kill him." It's like, great. So I got to walk him basically through withdrawal. And I wasn't sure what things were going to look like on the other side, because it was pretty rough. And I just had to trust that God, was going to take care of it, take care of us. And so it's also interesting, there's some things he just doesn't even really remember from the first few months of us being married because of that, everything that happened.
Not just our marriage, I have huge holes in my memory going back 20 years now. But I'm still glad that things are the way they are now.
So mine is, I guess, that I grew up in the church, so my parents became the pastors of the church, which I now pastor, when I was about 6 years old. And I don't know if it started then or later, but even though I got saved as a little girl, I really struggled with fear for the majority of my childhood, into my teen years, and even into my early 20s. And it was suffocating, it was embarrassing. My parents had to deal with this child that was always crying and they didn't know what to do with, because I just couldn't handle life. I couldn't face it. I was just terrified of everything, which really went against the adventurousness. It's so funny, right, that God put within me. And so anyways, I had still gone on mission trips and done a few things, but there still was just this underlying fear that just really controlled my life. And so one day we had, I think Don Pope was in town actually, he's a friend of ours, a worship musician, and we were just having a time of worship at our church. And earlier, he was talking to the worship team, and as a girl, what I had done is we used flags and different things in worship, and I used to love to do that. But then at 13, I got enlisted in the worship team, and so I was, ever since then, I'd always been on the platform playing something, and I realized I was kind of missing that. And he said, well, you have the freedom. If you need to leave the stage, and go do that. I'm like, okay. So we're in worship, I'm on the keyboard and I'm singing, and I felt like I had to leave the platform. And I was so paranoid, just the fear of man, like, what is everyone gonna think? And, this is my responsibility. And so I took my flip-flops off, which was like, whew, a big step. And then I ran off the platform because there was just this moment of, if I don't do it now, nothing is ever going to change. And the minute I left the stage like that, I can't even begin to describe just the way that I encountered the love of God that I never had before. And it was like all that fear just completely fell off of me, and turned me into the person I am today, that could marry him and be playing drums in a rock band and pastoring a church. And so I'm so thankful for that moment that kind of helped to launch me into the destiny that God always had for me. But the devil didn't want me to.
Well, it's kind of hard to quantify, but I would say one of my biggest missions is to be who I needed when I was younger. I grew up really lonely, really curious, really misunderstood, and I was just sad and alone and angry a lot. And if I can write a song or tell a story or tell a joke that makes somebody feel warm and happy and included, then that's what I was put here to do. Because I know what it's like to be on the outside, to be confused, to be alone, to wonder what the point of everything is, to wonder if it's worth it, and it is worth it.
And I'd say my passion is worship, not just the musical side of it, but because that's where I encountered God in such a profound way. My passion is really to try to help create the atmosphere where other people can encounter the presence of God in a real transformative way, where they can experience deliverance and get set free, and connect with the heart of God. Because one thing I hate is just going to church, because that's what we do. And so I'm really passionate about people experiencing God for themselves.
I mean, we're kind of living it right now. We're writing songs, we're playing shows, we're meeting people. She still has the church. We still have the church. We're still reaching new people. I mean, just pray that God keeps laying this out before us.
I don't know. I want to see the church kind of slow down. We've talked about this in our congregation, but everyone is so busy and we're so consumed with our own little lives that it's hard to really see others. I'd love to see people just really get a heart for the lost again. And I would love to see that the places we go when we play, God show up in those spaces and places, because there's so much hunger and even spiritual needs. It's just interesting, the conversations all over here in bars and people talking about, going to church when they were kids or different things, and just even the way that they perceive Christians perceiving them. And so I would love to see God show up in those spaces in just supernatural ways, I guess.
We go to a lot of places that have a feeling of despair. And these are places that people just want to have a good time. People want to hear some songs. People go to escape their lives. And when I tell these stories and sing these songs about depression and persisting through the horrors of life, they feel empowered to tell their stories. And I feel like the atmosphere lifts a little bit when that happens. And they don't think they're being preached to. They have no idea that God was there and God moved in it, because we couldn't do what we do. But it's the kind of interaction that does not happen the same way inside the walls of a traditional church.
But I think there's also a desire to see those two worlds collide, because I think that's really God's heart. Well, I think going back and talking to the younger me, it's hard because I feel like I could have said things and I probably would not have heard them, right? But I think the biggest thing would just be not to let fear define your life, because I think of so many possible opportunities or things I probably missed out on because I was just so bound up in fear. And so it can feel like I wasted a lot of my life because of that. And so, and perfect love casts out fear. And so just really digging into the love of God, because that's what gets rid of the fear.
I would tell myself, don't wait to be ready. I spent a lot of time waiting around for the perfect job, the perfect girlfriend, waiting for the perfect song to come to me, waiting to be discovered, waiting to meet a better friend, and it's not going to come. Life isn't perfect. Nothing in life is. And, if you want to get better at making art, you have to practice it. Sometimes it's really, really hard work. And if you want good friends, you need to be a good friend. And I don't know, if you want to meet the right girl, go to church, I guess. And maybe survivor's bias, but worked for me. But I would just say, keep working and don't spend quite so much time daydreaming. It was pretty rough. There were days where I spent more time planning how I was going to end it than talking myself out of it. And it's a miracle that I survived.
I think of more two events, I guess you could say. One, I think, was, losing my dad. That in a way we had a long time to say goodbye, but that's never easy. But the challenge was not just losing my dad, but then walking our entire congregation through that loss as not only their pastor, but as a daughter. And again, I don't know that there's a handbook for, a clause that has how you do that. So that was really hard. I'm really thankful for my mom and the congregation and Foursquare for kind of being there. But there were moments where I was just like, I don't know that I can do this. And then the second one I would actually say, believe it or not, was marrying Jamin. Because I lost my dad a year before I met him, and he actually showed up on the 1 year anniversary that we were having remember Pastor Ben's service. But there were a lot of people that meant well, that I think felt like they needed to protect me, that they needed to be there because my dad wasn't there, that really people I'd known for a long time, that I thought knew me well and kind of questioned my sanity, my morality, my integrity, my character, and And it was really rough having conversations with people I never thought I would have, having people think I had just completely left God and everything because I was going to marry this guy. But they did not know the whole, story. So yes, we met in April. We started dating in July, got engaged in September, and got married in November of the same year. But
when you know, you know.
And so there were a lot of nights where I was just praying and crying before the Lord, and I felt like he just really wanted me to trust him with it all, even when it felt like nobody else was trusting me. And maybe that also went back to that fear of man thing where that was like the worst thing, that people would think that I was somebody other than I am. And so, yeah, two things very close together. But God is faithful, and it's been amazing on the other side now, 7.5 years later. People that were all freaked out at the beginning love him and think we're great together. So,
You said the worst part was imagining people thinking you're someone other than who you are. Mm-hmm. My entire life, people have thought I was someone other than I am.
Mm-hmm. Mine has always been Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope. And I think that's because I always had such a hard time, and again, that fear thing of the unknown, and I felt like I didn't know what was ahead, and what if I picked the wrong plan? And so I think God gave that to me early on, just as a promise to stand on, especially like I was 31 when we got married. I thought I was going to be married a lot sooner than that. So having something to hold on to that God knows, and everything that he has planned is good, and just trusting him in that.
I probably better not say what my favorite one is. It's probably from Song of Solomon or something. Some spicy stuff in the Bible.
Like you said, if you ask me something, I can always go off. But...
yeah, she's not very good with spontaneity. Oh, we'll be sitting on the couch, and I'll be like, hey babe, tell me a story. She's like,
I got nothing.
I'm like, what do you want to do today, babe? But when she knows, she'll tell you.
Steps I go through, the night and the rain, loneliness is never explained, so I go. My breathing cuts through the miles of pain, fear in my mind is going insane. I don't know. So I look to the night for something profound, wait for a noise when no one's around as I go. Do you know? Wide awake while the city sleeps, we make dreams reality. While the city sleeps, while the city's sleeping, skylines glow with electric fire, fighting the dark till it gets tired. While the city sleeps, while the city's sleeping.
Oh, it's not the lighthouse anymore. Hi, I'm Jamin. This is my wife, Deborah. We're from Kearney, Nebraska. Where do we go to church, babe?
The Outpost, where I'm the lead pastor.
How about that? Feminism is alive and well. Do you want to tell them about that?
I don't think we're to that part yet, but
About feminism, or you being the pastor of a church?
I don't know. I think this is not the interview for talk about that.
Do you want me to clap my hands 3 times again?
Wide awake while the city